Unmute, start video. There I am. Well, I'm unmuted. Well,
in writing, that's fine. One of the things that, this is just the beginning of this whole process from the public hearing standpoint. There will be no hearing closed tonight. This will be ongoing. There's documentation that will be required from the applicant. There'll be responses from our consultants to the applicant. So this is an ongoing process. So you don't have to worry about your voice not being heard tonight and then walking out and something happening. That's not going to happen. This is a long process. Having said that, before we get into the public hearing, Jay, anything on your end?
Correspondence. The Fred Schneeberger application was removed from the agenda because the resolution is not able to be prepared. He will be on the agenda for the January meeting. I sent out a training opportunity for planning board members. I forwarded you some of the public comments that I received today and tonight, and happy Hanukkah, everyone.
Right. First item, do we have on the agenda is the approval of previous minutes? Any questions, comments, changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion made, second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Conference check. Anyone have any conflict of interest with any other applications tonight? Okay. If not, then we'll move in. We'll open the public hearing for Iron Star. Taylor, you know where you're going from here based on what I just said. So.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Very well said and now very well organized. Hope you all have happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays, everyone. For the record, my name is Taylor Palmer. I'm a partner with the law firm of Cuddy & Fader here on behalf of the applicant. Tonight, I am joined by the property owner and the applicant, Stacy Surgeon. I'm also joined by our engineer, Mike Bodendorf of Pleasant Land Design, who was just adjusting the sign there. Our architect is RA Siegel Architect. Our traffic consultant is Frank Licciotto of Creighton Manning Engineering. And our landscape architect is Ryan Quinn of One Nature. Beth Salek, who is our cultural resource expert, is joining us on Zoom. So I will steal some of her talking points, which I'll get to in a moment, but she's here to address any specific questions that the public may have, or if the board sees fit, we'll certainly provide written responses to any comments that come forth tonight. Our surveyor for the project, I did see him in the hallway, is Wesley Chase. As the chairman mentioned, we are before you tonight in connection with our public hearing. We are proposing an application for site plan, special use permit, and subdivision, which is a lot line change or lot line adjustment application for a retreat center on the premises to be known as the Iron Star Retreat Center. Thank you again for the opportunity to provide these comments. Again, our whole team is here and we look forward to hearing them. And of course, for those on Zoom, the materials that we will be presenting should be available. They were already submitted to the board. They're posted on the applicant's website that was included in the notice. And for those here in the public, we do have a physical set of site plans to go through with you all. In just a minute, I will turn to our architect, R.A. Siegel, to walk the public and the board through the site plans for the proposed retreat center and the associated support services. And then I'll ask our traffic consultant and our environmental consultants to give you a little extra background. And we'll also hear from the applicant just about her background with the site and how, the vision that we have for the property. For the benefit of the public that is attending this evening, the property is located on the south side of New York State Route 82. It's south and west of Wilkie Bridge Road and northwest of Roach Drive and east of Pool Hill Road. Majority of the property is presently classified in the town's ag district or the agriculture district. And there is a small portion Mike will highlight during his presentation. That is zoned AHR2, which is your Hamlet zoning district. And the property is also in the county's agricultural district number 1. Collectively, the property as it presently stands is 4 separate lots, and it's just under 150 acres total for the property size. Mike will also review the associated facilities that are proposed on the site plan and for the existing lots. We have put together a great team here that has a lot of background and understanding and really has worked this site plan to where it is today. This is not the first meeting that we've had for your board. In fact, the first meeting that we met here in the town was 2 years ago with the building inspector and the planning board secretary in connection with the proposal that the applicant was putting together for the site.
We have Marshall, Coral, Eddie, and Amy.
Hey, if I may, whoever's on Zoom, please mute your microphones. Thanks, Bill.
It's weird because we're not seeing them all.
I
know. On February 20th this year, we had our pre-submission meeting with the board, and that was also for our sketch plan review. Following that pre-submission and sketch plan review, we did appear at the planning board's June 3rd, July 14th, July 1st, September 2nd, October 7th, and November 4th agendas. So we've been working up the site plan to really respond to the comments, not only from the board and what we've been hearing locally, but also from their board's consultants who are here to review the project. The applicant also coordinated site visits to the site, which took place with board members on July 19th and 20th. And the applicant also held additional site visits with members of the CAC. That took place on August 3rd. In response to the comments, we have refined this site plan that is before you now. And without stealing too many of my team's additional talking points, I just want to give a quick brief overview of summary of the actual proposal itself for the retreat center, because again, we've heard there may be some misunderstanding of exactly what's being proposed here on the property. The property is presently improved by an existing residence and a garage, a barn and carriage house, and a second garage building, as well as an existing gravel drive. The eastern portion of the property is agricultural lands, and then the central portion of that property is maintained as a hayfield and lawn, with the western portion generally wooded and a small overgrown pasture. The northern portion of the property has also been previously mined for gravel. The applicant recently demolished, and the people here today may have seen, there were 3 existing mobile homes, again, from east to west on the property that have since been demolished. The Iron Star Retreat Center does include an adaptive reuse of that existing residence, and it's proposing an inn. That will be on lot 3. We'll have a 5 guest room inn and a restaurant for the guests of the retreat center. Iron Star will also include a development with 4 separate lodging cottages, which we refer to throughout the presentation as creek houses for overnight accommodations. That includes 3 separate buildings for support services on the east side of the property. The retreat center will also feature glamorous camping or glamping, excuse my air quotes, and it's an operation with 22 individual camping structures, 17 of which will provide overnight accommodations. The retreat center will also offer farming and mountain experiences to guests, with guests including business and wellness professionals, with the goal of reconnecting each other and to the land through the services that are offered on site and in the area here in Ancram. The retreat center will also include important infrastructure for the project, which is parking areas, access roads, their connection trails that we'll review, their individual wells and septic, and stormwater infrastructure, as well as a well house and a composting bathhouse. We'd also note that the applicant did submit, we just handed it to the planning board secretary, a box that is a proposal to amend, or it's a petition to remap a 13.27 acre portion. Again, Mike will show that on the plan of the property that is presently zoned in the AHR2. That's the location of 2 of the mobile homes that have since been demolished on the property. The existing zoning classification doesn't line up with existing lot lines, doesn't line up with existing lots, whether they've been revised or otherwise, even dating back to 1972, the zoning map doesn't show any continuity with those lot lines. So we're not sure exactly why that was carved out the way it was, but we are trying to zone the entire property. Again, it's a carve out of really the center of the site so that it would all be zoned agricultural. Again, it's in a county ag district. The applicant's One Nature environmental consultant will also review the specific and detailed landscaping plan that we prepared. Procedurally, just for the benefit of the public and the board, this is a type 1 action under seeker, and we understand the board has circulated its intent to serve as lead agency for that coordinated review, and we also understand that a county GML 239 referral was made in advance of this hearing. The applicant has also been in touch with the New York State DOT in connection with its proximity and access off of the state's highway. And as I mentioned, I will put my other hat on for our historic Hudson Valley Cultural Resource expert, who's on Zoom again here to answer questions, but we've been asked to relay those comments. We did, Hudson Valley Cultural Resources completed what's called a phase 1 cultural resources study of the property back in July of this year. The survey evaluated the parcel with testing areas of the proposed work, did not find any archaeological or historic work, did not identify any archaeological sites or historic properties. The existing house on the property, which is to remain, will be adapted, will be reused as we mentioned, and it was built in the 19th century, so it is an older house. Despite the age, it does not meet the criteria for listing on the National Register. We also note that the survey report has been submitted to the State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO. That's again in coordination with the seeker review that's ongoing before the board. Today, December 2nd, SHPO actually did respond, timing is everything, and determined that the proposed project will not impact any archaeological sites. The review for potential impacts associated with whether it's the Ancram Historic District is still ongoing, and we expect that should be done in January of next year by the SHPO. So at this time, I will ask Stacy Surgeon, the applicant, to help just give a little background about her connection with the property, and then we'll turn it to Mr. Siegel to run through the site plan. Thank you. Up there. The white spot. Sharon was there.
Hi, my name is Stacy Sherrigan, and I've met you all before, because I've been here for about 2 years. And I just wanted to talk about the project and express who I am and my background. The first thing I want to say is, you know, I came to the land back in December of 2019, and the minute I stepped on it, I realized how magical it was and how beautiful it was. And I thought that this could be a long-term home for my family and my kids' families. And with that grew that naturally, because my background is in building, that I don't need 150 acres to myself. And I thought about the ability or the potential of creating a place that other people can come visit who seek quiet and refuge. This is a very environmentally conscious project, and that's also because it's personal. Because when I saw the land the first time, I realized how special it was, and I don't want that to change. Visually, the property will look very similar as it looks today. Most of the new structures are not seen from the road. And I've learned a lot in this process, and that there are many environmental things we can improve upon on the site. Doing large native tree plantings, allowing some large portions of the meadows to grow with limited cutting to keep birds and other insects present that help the land, removing invasive plants in the wetlands, etc. The site will be improved for this project, and I've hired consultants to implement this vision while promoting benefits to the land. The plan to bring back farming and livestock to the property fits in with the town's overall plan, and I intend to do that. We're hoping we can work with surrounding neighbors so that guests and residents can participate in the local economy, and hosting community events will be something we really hope to participate in. I hope we can clear up any misunderstandings tonight about this project, and we're excited to remain part of this community, and we're committed to being good and cooperative community members. And I know while you all don't know me well, only time can really show you my commitment to this project and my family's commitment to this project.
Good evening. My name is Brian Quinn. Thank you for your attention. I'm the principal of One Nature, which is a beacon-based certified B Corp company. We plan and build ecocentric landscapes and have a more than organic plant nursery and provide expert ecological consulting services, which I've been providing personally for about 20 years as an applied ecologist. I'm here this evening as the environmental planner and restoration ecologist for the project. I've been involved in the layout and design of the retreat center from the start in coordination with Stacy and other members of our team. I've helped them site all the buildings, identify agricultural uses, look at soils, generally plan a project that has a net positive environmental impact on the property and the surrounding landscape. The property under your review is a really special landscape. It has epic views from high ridges a peacefully flat valley bisected by a sunken stream, rolling agricultural fields, and a visually stunning arrangement of planted trees. Leveraging these special qualities, this project envisions a different type of project than is typical. This retreat center could also be called a landscape hotel. The retreat center we propose will encourage visitors to slow down, enjoy their surroundings, and generally nurture a stronger connection between themselves and their natural surroundings. The landscape experience will be made even more special with passive recreation experiences like horseback riding, hiking, and off-site day trips for activities like downhill skiing or fly fishing on the Rojan. Wherever possible, this project takes a maximally light touch on the landscape. Visitors will be encouraged to utilize car-free means of transportations, including things like golf carts, bikes, even horses to enjoy the property. We really want to get people out of their cars and enjoy the property at a human scale. We use existing systems of trails, all sorts of different trails from gate paths to former ATV and tractor roads to convey people and horses through the rough terrain, through the rough and smooth terrain. Structures are generally sited at the edge of existing fields and clearings, but behind high ground to keep them out of sight from the road. We are adaptively reusing several buildings. The existing agricultural fields are preserved and disturbances of steep slopes are avoided. Even the vehicular roads proposed are as narrow as possible and made of gravel rather than asphalt. In every way, we have tried our best to preserve the subtle character of this very special place. In some cases, we do have some additional disturbances to the land, but in these cases, we mitigate those disturbances, and in my opinion, more than make up for the impact. In this project, if you review the plans, we are proposing to install 384 mature native trees, each one at least 6 feet tall, bald and burlap upon installation. We're also converting 20 acres of poor quality fields to naturalized meadows, which will serve as critical habitat to a range of pollinator species. A lot of people don't know that the big threatened habitat up here and throughout the Northeast really is not forest, but it's meadow. We're lacking high quality meadow for many of our native species. 2,000 linear feet of riparian buffer will be preserved, the whole length of the creek as it moves through the property. We're committed to dark sky compliant lighting. Where possible on brief timers to protect views of stars, but also moth and butterfly populations. Even the windows of the buildings will be made bird safe. Farming is an important part of this project in the surrounding counties. And so therefore it's our intent to host farmers, professional for-profit farm operations to continue the agricultural legacy of the land. We've already broadcast an RFP soliciting interest of this several months ago. Happy to discuss more. So in conclusion, in short, this is a project we believe is the highest and best use of this property, not just for the owner, but for the community. This project, in my humble and professional opinion, is the type of development that deserves serious consideration and could be a model for future developments in the region. There are many more details, and we'd be happy to elaborate them on later in the question and answer period. But at this moment, I'd like to invite our traffic consultant, Frank, up to, excuse me, it's for you next week. Yes, up to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Just for the record, Frank Filicilto with Creighton Manning Engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New York. I've served as traffic engineer for this project for about 1.5 years now. When we started first looking at this last year, we've been a part of not only the on-site circulation and the layout of the various activations on the site, but we've also been the key contact with the New York State Department of Transportation, which obviously owns, maintains Route 82, which the site fronts along. So we've kind of had a dual role in the project, from helping with the on-site circulation and the parking and just the general flow of the site, but also the DOT. As Taylor mentioned and Brian hit on, this project proposes, I really look at this site as two halves that become a whole once the project is built. You'll notice on the plan to the board's left, audience's right, there's a creek that more or less bisects the property. So on the left side of the creek, which is the west side, that's the glamping or glamorous camping area with the 20 tent sites, 17 of which will allow for overnight use. On the east side of the creek, that's where the retreat center is. That's the inn that is going to be repurposed with 5 rooms as well as 4 creek houses for a total of 8 dwelling units or sleeping units. So overall, from a traffic perspective, we're looking at approximately 33 units overall that someone or a group of people could utilize, for an overnight stay. It's important to note that creek because that creek will prevent vehicular traffic from traveling over it. It's not the intent of this project to really mix vehicular traffic on the site. As Brian mentioned, this is all about kind of getting out of your car and experiencing the property, not driving from one activation site to another. So to that end, the glamping site will be accessed via one driveway on Route 82. And if I may, over here, the driveway approximately here that leads to a parking lot with approximately 20 parking spaces that will be used solely for the glamping area. On the east side of the creek, there will be 2 total access points. There will be a main access point at the east end of the property, providing full access, where a guest could come in and circulate via the gravel roads. And then up where the existing home is, that's going to be repurposed, that driveway is going to be reused, but it's very narrow today. And what we're going to be doing with that is just making it an exit-only driveway. So you wouldn't be able to enter the site there, only exit. In terms of traffic, just to give everyone an idea of how much traffic is on Route 82 and how much we're going to be adding as a result of this project. In general, Route 82 sees about 1,100 vehicles per day, 24-hour period. Obviously, the majority of that occurs during daylight hours. During the peak hour, the busiest one single hour, that is found to occur on Saturday late morning between about 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. Think about that, people are out, visitors to the area are in the area. It makes sense that the busiest single hour occurs on Saturday, and that data is from the DOT. During the peak hour that this site will generate, we project approximately 19 vehicle trips. When you think about that, you have 33 units. Not every single one of those units is going to produce a trip every hour. People arrive at different times. They meet their families at different times or their friends. But more than half of the units will produce a trip during the peak hours for a total of 19. That 19 trips on this existing roadway will not have an adverse impact on the roadway. There's plenty of capacity. The level of service will remain a favorable level of service A. We've been working with the DOT now since July formally. They have to approve each of the driveways that we are proposing. So far, we've had 2 rounds of comments from them. While we don't have an approval letter, that's what we're seeking, and ultimately a permit. They don't have any concerns to date with any of the driveways. We've demonstrated that there's adequate sight distance at these driveways. This is obviously a 55-mile-an-hour roadway, so sight lines are very critical. That's one of their key concerns, and we're continuing to work with them with respect to stormwater. They obviously want to know how their road would be impacted, so Mike and I will be engaged with the DOT on that end. But obviously, we need to meet their requirements for approval. This project cannot get off the ground without a highway work permit from the DOT. So that being said, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
How shall can I turn this more towards the public, or should I just leave it as is?
Yeah,
Is it
probably,
okay if I present over here?
That's fine.
It's hard to see no matter what.
yeah.
Okay, for the record, good evening, Mike Bodendorf, engineer for the applicant. So Frank went through a lot of this site, how the internal circulation works. I'll just talk a little bit about water, sewer, stormwater, grading and so forth.
Excuse me, can you stand back just a few?
Sure, sure.
Perfect, thank you.
Mike, what's the date of that drawing?
All
The date of that drawing?
right, this is the October
28th?
18th.
18th.
The site is in an established water and sewer district, so we will be proposing private wells and sewage disposal systems to handle water and sewer. We're proposing 5 new wells on the project. and we'll be using 2 existing ones. We're also proposing 7 new septic systems to handle the various buildings that would have sewage flow coming from them. There are a few septic systems that exist on the property. We're not proposing to use those at all because they're probably undersized. We're not even going to evaluate them, we're just going to bend them in place and propose new septic systems. The overall water and sewer demand for the project is about 5,082 gallons per day. That's spread out over the whole site. To put that in perspective, if you had 11 to 12 4-bedroom homes, that would be about the same total flow. You know, and that flow generation is a bit conservative because we calculate flows for each building based on bedroom count. We calculate separate flows if they're being food prepped. And we calculate separate flows if there's just another building that these people can congregate in and there's a bathroom. So there's a lot of sort of over design of these septic systems because, for instance, someone staying in a cabin up here, that design flow accounts for them staying in that cabin, preparing their own food there, and just not going anywhere else. And that's where all their sewage flow will come from. We know that people are not going to stay in their cabin. They're going to walk around. They might go down to the rec buildings. They might use those. They might go to the restaurant at the inn. So these flows are going to be spread out through the whole site, and they're most likely going to be much less than that actual design flow. For stormwater purposes, this site, the construction will result in much more than an acre of disturbance. Therefore, we're subject to a stormwater pollution prevention plan. These dark blue shapes that you see on the site are where we're proposing stormwater management areas. And that's generally where stormwater currently leaves the site. So those will mitigate any additional runoff from the impervious surfaces that we're adding to this site. As Frank mentioned, we have a main entrance on the east side of the property that accesses off of 82. The internal circulation road is a 20-foot wide road that serves for fire code purposes. For the creek houses, these light blue structures here, we're providing parking spaces at each one. We have overflow parking here, which will serve as overflow, but will also serve for some parking spaces for employees that work on site. For the camping side, we have a parking area located here. And as Frank mentioned, and Ryan, this is more of a walking site. So people will park their cars here. They have the opportunity to walk up to their cabin if they wish, or they can be driven up via golf cart or some other type of vehicle. There's not going to be any internal, or we're not encouraging any internal movement of vehicles. You get to your spot, you park your car, and once you're in your unit, you don't go back to your car unless you're leaving the site. We're going to advance these plans further to provide more detail in terms of ADA access to public buildings. We're going to provide more lighting detail, internal circulation, walking paths, and so forth. We're working on, there's a lot of internal trails, especially on this western side, that we're trying to locate. We've done it via on-site observations, survey, aerial photos. So that detail is going to come. We certainly have roll-up views of areas. This is actually another plan of that same plan that was out front. So this is the western side, fire access road only. But guests will be brought up. This access road is brought to their various units. Here's the septic system. This will be a community septic system for all of the cabins. I don't know if this sheet shows the well. The well for the cabins will be up here. So there'll be a internal sewer main and water main system that will provide water and sewer to each of the cabins. Just to back up here, there's also rustic structures that are located in the cabin area. Those are for day use. They don't have bathroom facilities, and they're not for overnight accommodations. This is just the southern part of the west side, showing cabins here and some rustic structures up on the top of the ridge. Here's the creek that bifurcates the site, west side, east side. And these purple buildings are recreation buildings. A proposed pool, this is one of the creek houses. Proposed stormwater, stormwater system. These green systems are sewage disposal systems, wells. And just to touch on the well, there's an existing well at the end that we'll be using, and there's an existing well. One of those removed mobile homes once stood over here that will be reused. So moving down the east side, the creek houses are located generally along the ridge here that overlook the internal part of the site. That's generally it. You know, the roads are graded. We have a stormwater system that conveys all the proposed stormwater into a stormwater treatment area. And I believe I covered everything. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Right, that's the board, that completes our presentation for this night. We're certainly here to hear questions from the board or from the public, and we're pleased to either provide responses to those in writing, or if the board sees certain questions that you would like any of our consultants to address, we're certainly pleased. to
Yeah,
do so.
I think I'd like to have the board, ask their questions first, and then we can open to the public. Anybody have any specific questions right now, other than the ones we know that can be addressed?
I have one. There's an endangered species on the site. Have you consulted with the DEC, the biologist yet regarding that?
So the EAF mapper reveals that there may be the criteria. So for example, the cottontail, those particular items are tagged or flagged by the EAF. We do have One Nature, who is our consultant that has reviewed the site and have them speak maybe specifically to some of the research that's been done or some of the site investigation that's been done associated with those species.
Okay.
Was there a specific species you were referring to?
It's New England. Cotton.
Okay. I'll ask Mr. Quinn of One Nature to touch on that.
Yeah, sure, just briefly, or however long you'd like. The New England cottontail is an endangered species, and it is extremely hard to differentiate from Eastern cottontail, making censusing the species very difficult. With that in mind, we analyzed the site, looked at all the different types of habitat in a deep analysis, and determined that we could offset any potential impacts by the creation of a series of what are called habitat brush piles, which would benefit any type of cottontail or rabbit and any number of other species. We also are encouraging the naturalization of these 20 acres of meadow, which will also serve as critical habitat for the New England cottontail, with the 384 tree species, where if we would be installing on the property, would be creating really significant landscape corridor patches throughout the site. These are kind of linear forms, which are really good for cover for species that want to travel undercover and be protected from things like hawks and coyotes. Specifically, we have not reached out to the DEC for particular guidance on this, just because in my experience, there is not very good guidance on this. If someone's aware of some research that's been done or some census in the immediate area, I mean, there's good general guidance, but in terms of how it would impact the site plan in our work, we're open to any suggestions or collaboration or whatever is available. That helps.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I'll speak to that. That's it.
Just to follow up on Brian's point, when you're filling out the EAF, endangered species will come up if they're within a check zone of a known hit. And the known hit for this site is located to the northwest of the site. It's not actually on the site, but they're within a potential area that those species could be.
Any other questions from the board?
I just got one question. Is it going to be a year-round facility? Is it going to operate year-round?
Some components of the operation will be year-round. Naturally, the glamping, certain components, the overall site will function year-round, like the inn, for example, and the creek houses, but the glamping operation may be somewhat limited. Again, whether it is, of course, we'd love for it, I think, to be. Yeah, it's year-round. Again, it's gonna be dependent on patrons, of course, but the intent is for it to be year-round.
Anyone else?
The DOT numbers used for the traffic, when was that last study done? You know, when that, is that current or was that an old?
So
The only reason I ask is I live right here and we know Friday afternoons and Sunday afternoons is our busiest traffic.
So it's a great question. When we took this project on, it was probably 6 months after the pandemic started. So the idea of putting a traffic counter down at the end of the summer of 2020 was not going to be something that would give us meaningful data. So the state DOT has a database on its website, and the data we're looking at is from 2019, so it's pre-pandemic.
Yeah,
And I will say the Saturday data for that week that they studied it was the highest, that 1 hour on Saturday. But
we've had
Sunday,
a tremendous influx of traffic since then.
okay, yeah, and I think one of the things that the board should consider is we're projecting 19 vehicles in the peak hour, so roughly 1 every 3 minutes. Even if you had 2,000 vehicles per day on Route 82, the amount of traffic that we're adding, it's comparably very, very, very small. State highways like Route 82, 1 lane in each direction, function well up to 15,000 vehicles per day, given the location. So there's a lot of capacity out there. I'm very sympathetic to the fact that traffic is contextual. You know, what you experience is different than what another community experiences. But the amount of traffic generated by this site is very, very small during the peak hours. So hope that answers it. We're boxed in by COVID, but we had good data from 2019. That gave us an idea.
Anyone else? Okay, having said that, I will open up the comment from the public. I said we will take it in order. We have approximately 20 to 30 people have signed up. So I would ask that you limit your comments, make them as brief as possible, address the board, and we will not be responding to them. We will just be taking under advisement. First, I ask that you come forward and identify yourself. First person on the,
If I may, Joe, has there been a motion to open the public hearing?
yeah, we did it.
You did it, okay. Thank you, excuse me.
That we started with that.
All right.
First person is Joe Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the board. Thanks for having us. Hello, Stacy. Or Mr. Shipman. I'm Joe. I'm your neighbor. I live over on Roche. So, like many of us, and like Ms. Shergan, my family and I fell in love with Ancram's unique agricultural vistas. And then when we started reading about the town, we admired how the people who live here didn't take its special qualities for granted. They codified them into the comprehensive plan. And we wanted to live in the place that the plan said. So we bought a house, had a kid, and here we are. I'm here to, I've also read a lot of the materials from the Iron Star project, and I've been to a few meetings. And I wanted to highlight some of the ways in which I think the project could better adhere to the comprehensive plan from my reading. I'm not a lawyer or a planning expert, but it's just my observations. And it's also sort of in keeping with the plan's goals and strategies to achieve the 2030 vision that are in the most recent 2018 version of the plan. So agriculture and open space goal. It's happy to hear you talk about bringing agriculture in. From what I had seen, it looks like a very large garden. But I would just say I would hate to lose the agricultural, scenic, and open views that we love. In the environment goal, I'm concerned about water use. We all know that wells around here run dry, and hospitality uses more water than residential customers. Iron Star could have more than 100 people on property, all of whom need water and toilets. It's a big thing. There's also light pollution to consider. This time of year, my daughter and I like to walk through the hayfield and look at the moon. We're also trying to teach her the constellations. And though Iron Star specs dark sky compliant lighting, that's still another new light added. And 40 structures with lights pumps a lot of light into the sky. This will cut down on our view of the stars, and one of the reasons why we love being here. Finally, traffic. The traffic analysis I've seen from Iron Star has examined the resort's impact on peak traffic, 11 a.m. on Saturday. I'm more concerned with 6 a.m. on a weekday. My wife might be out on a run in the summertime. This time of year, I might be out hunting. How many additional beeping delivery trucks or smog belching delivery trucks are screaming up 82 riding their Jake brakes, busting our scenic tranquility on our twisty 2-lane road. Wiltsey Bridge, which is the fastest way to 22, is already crowded, and the additional traffic this contributes is concerning to me. I'd love to see some analysis of the off-peak impact and the impact on roads other than 82, because that's not the only road that people are going to take to get to this property. There's the community character goal. If we're serious about, quote, expanding protection for the town's unique scenic rural character, we need to question the impact. This is not just a major development, it's one of the biggest developments our town has ever seen. It will likely be our town's second largest employer. I understand that landowners have legal rights, but so do we residents who move to areas to escape noise, lights, and crowds. The comprehensive plan is a commitment from our government to keep our population to keep Ancram, quote, the same but better. This project at this scale seems to conflict with that. The hamlet development goal, the only impact this resort has on our hamlet that I can see is to reduce its size in that one area that will be zoning agricultural. I was in a meeting where somebody posited the reason it was zoned hamlet as opposed to agricultural, although I say I know it's not settled, was to allow for more affordable housing. And so now we're zoning it agricultural, which doesn't allow for multiple units in this close proximity. The recreation goal, I'm proud to be a member of Ancram's Trails Committee and the Assessment Board, because it's proof that our community puts its money where its mouth is. We are serious about giving all members of our community access to its natural beauty. It's telling that no part of the proposed Iron Star Resort, not the pool or the yoga studio or the restaurant, will be accessible to the community. We could use another restaurant. This proposed project seems like it was designed to exist apart from our community, not as part of it. Economic development goal. I understand that there could be benefits from this project to our town. Tax revenue, maybe even some employment, in spite of the fact that we're not a hospitality-oriented community. But unlike Ancram's Little Store, which I'm really stoked about, this business won't serve our residents and could have a meaningful negative impact in terms of light, noise, and traffic. And I would ask that the board to help us mitigate that. I'd also like to ask the question of the board which is, can we handle this? We don't have a police officer. There could easily be alcohol-related incidents, there could be theft, maybe even violence. Who's going to take those calls, and how long will the victim have to wait for assistance? With regard to the affordable housing goal, this has already claimed 3 units of affordable housing, and in previous meetings, I've heard them be fairly flip about the fact that they demolish trailers. I think we're doing us a favor.
Unfortunately, that's the time. So-
All right, well, my time's up. I will submit the rest of this to you all via email. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Thank you for your time. And I would like to thank the Iron Star Resort Committee for putting in the effort and showing this to us.
Okay, the next speaker will be Tina Aiken.
Hi, I have just a few questions. These units that are going to be built, which you said there were 33 units. So I understand they're all buildings like houses, I mean, granting you can't in this climate just have a tent, and so I expect there'll be like little houses. So we have, I guess you said 33 units. That's quite a lot, meaning 33 houses on a property. They all need water, electricity, water lines going there, septic to be dealt with. How big are they? How many square feet? I mean, if it's quite an impact, I think, if you think this is a rural landscape, that's 33 more buildings being built is a lot. So I would like to know a little bit about that. And I also had the same concerns about affordable housing. I'm confronted with it all the time. I get desperate calls and pleads. Do you have anything? Where can people live? We need desperately some housing for this man with 2 children, for these working couple, and I get pleas all the time. Do you have something? Do you know of somebody? It's really, really hard to find affordable housing for people who don't have quite so much money. So with the trailers being away, but also all the workers, are they going to stay and live and sleep on the property? All the people who work for there's going to be more need for workers to there's more need for workers to stay and work at the project. Where are they gonna live? Where are we gonna find places to live for them? I mean, not just the people are really employed, but you need more plumbers, more electricians, more whatever builders, more painters, more landscapers, so where are these people all gonna live? So these were my two main questions.
Thank you. Scott Benedict?
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you. Just a few questions in addition to the previous. Will Iron Star seek any real property tax relief from Ancram other than abatements for any agricultural designated operations? If taxes are not a consideration of the planning board review, would that come up at a different phase? And if so, how would that transpire? Is Iron Star the presenter owner going to be the operator of the facility? I heard earlier that they were not. If not, wouldn't the operator be part of this process, as they have to be answerable to any concerns? And if the permit is granted, what assurances does Ancram have they won't sell the approved product, the project? And if so, where those folks potentially would have to start the process again? What are the binding requirements? And will Iron Star phase the project? Concern being that business plans might change. They might slow something down or decide not to pursue an aspect of the project. And since there is no public access, are there any community benefits planned or offered by Iron Star beyond the developed site? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don Medina? No? Wait, Don. isn't it?
He's there.
Yeah,
I can't, did you say my name?
Yeah.
yes.
Muffled.
If you're Don Medina, you're number 5. That doesn't say McLean. All right, does Don, your writing's terrible.
Hi.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for having a public comment time. Thanks for presenting. I'll be brief. I have, I just emailed these to John, so that I'll just stick to one point that has already been raised a little bit. And that is that the proposed special use permit for Iron Star Retreat Center has a single proposed use that crosses two zoning districts, the agricultural and the AH-R2 Hamlet residential. As noted in the recent letter of response from Nan Stolzenberg, creating a zoning conflict because a retreat center is not allowed in the Hamlet residential district. And as a remedy, the applicant is proposing to change a portion of the AH-R2 district to agricultural. I believe this zoning change would be at odds with the stated purposes of the zoning law, Article 1D, number 9, to improve the supply of affordable housing, and Article 2B2, especially notably item E, providing for and encouraging a mix of housing types and opportunities to meet the housing needs of town residents. In preparation for this project, the current owners have removed 3 residences, 2 of which were in the area of the proposed zoning change. If the town were to approve the proposed zoning change, the loss of these affordable residential units would then be codified and reinforced as a change to the zoning that goes against the considerable thought and effort the town invested in planning for affordable housing and growth of the hamlets. The affordable housing issue is further exacerbated by the Iron Star special use permit proposal, and that on-site activities requiring staff, including farming and animal care, appear to have no provision for staff housing. That will mean more people at the lower paying end of employment needing to find housing in an area that has fewer and fewer affordable options. Just the issue that we were trying to address by allowing flexible lot zoning and expansion of the hamlet zones. Excuse me, mask. Most of the people involved in agriculture in this area
from horses to vegetables to dairy, recognize the importance of providing housing for the people who do the work. And the Iron Star proposal appears to be oblivious to this fact, but perhaps that could change. And other issues have been already raised, and I just want to comment that I'm glad to hear that the public hearing is going to be continued as part of a long process, and we all, and some of us can recall working together on projects that went on for quite a long time and involve experts, expert help, and that certainly benefits the town. So thank you.
Christine Brown.
Hi, I'm Christine. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak and ask questions, and thank you all for sharing. So I'm actually going to come at this from a slightly different angle in terms of the questions that I have. And I want to start by saying I'm not at all opposed to development or change. I think it can actually be a real force of good. And when I first heard about the possible resort, I was actually really excited and a little bit intrigued. However, as we started to get more detail about the scale of what's being proposed, questions have surfaced, at least from my perspective, about the financial viability of the project. There are a handful of comparable resorts in the surrounding areas, including Collective Retreats, which is a resort in Ghent, Troutbeck and Silo Ridge down in Armenia, and all have struggled to meet their initial growth projections. And there are important lessons here, I think, for the town of Ancram. I strongly urge town leadership to seek input from a reputable hotel consultant about the financial viability of the proposed resort. A feasibility study should include an analysis of local, economic, and demographic indicators, a survey of appropriate comparable resorts, a penetration or fair share analysis of how this resort would perform in room rate occupancy versus a well-selected competitive set, and a 5-year projected profit and loss showing revenue and expenses in a standard hotel format. It's possible that this exists, but it hasn't been part of anything that I've seen made available or considered so far. I think additional consideration should also be given to the team compiled and relative financial strength of the proposal. What are the credentials of the team members? How experienced are they in hospitality specifically, not in building or real estate generally? How well funded is the applicant? What risk mitigants are built into the development plan? What's the anticipated use of debt and equity? This is just a sort of initial list of some questions. I will send this email, an email form, but just representative of the type of analysis that I want to make sure we collectively do as a community as part of this process. The success of any project, particularly one of this scale, has real and lasting implications for our town and our community. And I think the viability of the proposed business model must be really carefully considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dave Hall.
Hi, thanks so much for this opportunity. I'll be brief because folks have covered some of the material that I wanted to bring up, but just wanted to say I am involved in real estate and serving on the town's economic development committee as we're looking at workforce housing and how we can find some. And speaking from perspective as a person in real estate and also as serving on that committee, there is very, very little affordable housing in the county right now. I mean, affordable meaning under $400,000. There are two income working families in Columbia County that just have no options. It's a national problem and it's going to be getting worse. So I think we have to really think seriously as we plan for the growth of the entire town, what we're going to do about that. And surrounding towns are doing the same thing. Speaking as a neighbor, I live on Wilsey Bridge Road, just a little bit off 82. And I have a very nice spot from which I see the ridge. Right now it's very beautiful, and I know we are concerned about ridge line development here in town, and I'm not so sure I want to see lighted properties from my view. It's really quiet and very beautiful from where I am, so that's a personal thing. But more important than that is sound. When someone has a graduation party or wedding reception in our neighborhood, it's heard for a long distance because we're kind of in a bowl there. It's rather a natural amphitheater there. So I'm quite concerned about any sort of activities that will involve sound. And that's going to travel. So even if these community structures that are proposed are out of view of 82, so driving by, we might not have to see them. I think we're certainly going to risk hearing activity from coming there. And that really, really concerns me because, you know, people graduate, get married every couple of years. But this is going to be a year-round thing, a weekly thing, and I'm a little bit afraid that the quality of life and our property values are going to be affected by not only light pollution, but sound pollution, and of course, the traffic concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to make just one point, Mr. Chairman, just because there's been a lot of questions or comments about affordable housing associated with the project. The applicant, I'll have Mr. Siegel just quickly show the barn that's proposed. There are worker units to be located in that barn. So Ari, if you might put that up on the board, just for the benefit of the public.
Yeah, so the barn is being renovated, and it does have a couple of apartments for the workers there. So you have an idea.
Do you know how many?
2 apartments.
Jan Hendrick?
Hi, it's Jan Hendrik. Thank you for this opportunity. I've been visiting the area since 1975 when I've owned my home on Pools Hill Road since 1990, and I was married in this building in 2011. Ancram residents, like everyone, are concerned about having good neighbors. I've been working the last 2 years in Mexico to establish artist residencies and existing protected ecology centers, so many of the issues of Iron Star are familiar to me. 3 questions. Number 1, a LinkedIn profile for Iron Star lists it as coming summer 2022. What was the thinking behind advertising it before any permits for its construction were issued? Question number 2, neither Stacy Shergan nor Leeds in their LinkedIn profiles exhibit in their professional or volunteer work any credentials for a project having to do with the environment, biodiversity, horses, preservation of wildlife, rural life, sustainability, organic farming, running a restaurant, community or consensus building, etc. If someone else was proposing such a project, they wouldn't hire Leeds or Stacy Shergan to manage it based on their credentials. So who is really behind this and why? Number 3, Leeds has 19 Google reviews. I have screenshots and poster size if anybody wants to see them and to show I didn't edit them. One gives them 4 stars with no comments. One gives them 2 stars with no comments. All others give them 1 star for an average of 1.2 stars. These were recorded from 4 to 11 months ago. Comments include the lack of response to provide security footage is not only shameful, it hindered an investigation. For your thousands of tenants that trust you, do better. Terrible customer service, insensitive, insincere, and absolutely appalling. A cliche example of New York City ruthlessness and apathy at its worst. Avoid at all costs and find a better company to do business with. Check out UpperEastSite.com's reporting today on the callous and sociopathic treatment of their tenant and complicit endangerment of their entire building as a result. Someone broke in and kidnapped a tenant's dog, and they are refusing to relinquish security cam footage and are deflecting about the mayor's role in crime rates instead of helping this poor person. They're doing this despite the dog napper having keys, giving them access to the whole building, therefore endangering all tenants. They clearly have no idea how to be building managers, and if you're considering renting or owning a unit under their management, run far away. 10 people like this. Absolutely disgusting, negligent, and heartless. Disgusting and terrible building management. I will never live there and wouldn't allow even my worst enemy to live in one of their buildings. Heartless, disgusting, inhumane company. The lack of respect and care for living creatures is evident. Why did you take 4 days to provide video to one of your tenants? Shame on you. inhumane and uncaring, buildings are not secure, terrible management company and nasty people. You should be ashamed of yourselves. My question, how can we ensure we won't encounter similar complaints in these dealings with Ancram and Columbia County people with whom they have no experience or allegiance? Other concerns about the professionalism of Leeds environmental consultants, such as their repeated statement that Leeds will build on the ridge, a very hotly disputed topic in the area, and that the planting of cottonwood trees will calm horses, raise other concerns which I will not address at this time, but which are red flags. Thank you.
Thank you. James Kennedy.
Good evening, welcome, thank you for your presentation. For the record, my name is James Kennedy. I reside at Simon's General Store in Ancram. Primarily, I want to address a couple of issues that were sort of glanced at in Joe's presentation. And it's mainly in regard to the impact Iron Star may have on Ancram, and a huge fear that Iron Star's problems may very well become Ancram's problems. It'll come to no surprise to many of you here that water, septic, traffic appear on many, if not every board meeting agenda in this room. So my concerns are as follows. With the number of structures and their respective wells, are we not at jeopardy of tapping into an already compromised water seam and draining the village dry? We are all having to implement holding tanks in our personal homes. Every year, there's an increasing presence of holding tanks in the summer outside other people's homes because the wells are running dry. Also, the tributaries to the road jam would be impacted. In contradiction to the figures stated in your reports, I would argue that the 5,000 gallons of water today is going to be more like 10,000 gallons per day, because you have not, as it was in your presentation, I noticed you didn't really go into details about the agricultural aspect of the project. You said on your Dropbox files that you're going to try to be agriculturally self-sustaining. I mean, irrigation is a pretty major drain on water supplies, I would have thought. Also, I want to include a little report, which I will submit by email, from the US Geological Survey on the impacts of pumping lots of water in one concentrated area in a rural community. Public knowledge has it that once in Ancram there was a municipal tank that drew water from the road jam. We no longer have that. So what happens to the residents of Ancram in 3 years or 6 years when the water's gone? On the topic of traffic, as a resident who can speak from great experience, as I live at the most precarious intersection in Columbia County, I would also argue that the service traffic alone, meaning the traffic that will collect, deliver, maintain, irrigate Iron Star, will manifest probably more like 35 to 40 trucks per day. And I would say that the statistic on Saturday mornings is probably more to do with the fact that we're all going to the waste site to dump our waste. Lastly, I had a question about the proposed waste management system and how it will deal with the processing, which is quite an interesting topic, because I notice you're having compostable toilets, which would be a total of what? So you're going to have 85 people using compostable toilets every day. That's a large amount of urea and uric acid, which is highly toxic for the environment. So clarification on how you're going to deal with that would be of use also. I have also added several other questions, which I will submit by email. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark DeGarmo.
Well, thank you so much for entertaining our comments today, members of the public. I'm Mark DeGarmo. I grew up in Pine Plains. My parents were teachers at Pine Plains Central School. Dad hailed from a dairy farm. Mom was the nurse teacher. I've lived with my husband, Jan Handwick, for 31 years on Pool Hill Road. We were married by our Hudson Friends Quaker meeting on Flag Day 2002, and when legalized by New York State, married as Ancram's first LGBTQIA couple to do so at Ancram Town Hall, August 13th, 2011. We've been together for 46 years. There's a pattern I've witnessed for over 60 years of outsiders coming in, discovering our unusual area and claiming it for themselves. In the case of Iron Star Resort and Hotel, I smell a Trojan horse. This real estate developer and her family's real estate development company have deep backers and money attached to their sudden appetite for overrunning tiny Ancram with bulldozer cement and lots of cash for the purposes of making more money off the back of Pools Hills ancestral ridge that runs behind my house. I don't want my experience of the quality of Ancram's rural agricultural environment to be disrupted and destroyed. The solitude, the relative quietude, the rural versus an urban or a suburbanized area, the scores of undocumented animal and plant species everywhere surrounding us. And I emphasize even uncharted and undocumented as of yet, to be overrun and trampled underfoot by 100 guests a night, every night of the year, hosted by a New York City real estate company and its owners seeking refuge out of New York City from the pandemic. It and its residuals and impacts will be too big, too noisy, too messy. Iron Star Resort and a Hotel has no place in Ancram. Your online reviews and your 1.2 rating from your current customers and clients say it all. Stacy Shergan's Leeds Associates LLC is at best a misleading name for a real estate company with no interest in LEED, L-E-E-D certification. You don't care about your tenants or the real estate you already manage in the city. What makes you think, and with what hard proof, these are my questions. What makes you think and what hard proof can you provide that you are honest? That's the first question I ask any employees that I hire for my not-for-profit. And that despite your sales and marketing pitches that will be in, how do we know that you're going to be an honorable neighbor to the people, the wildlife, and the precious, irreplaceable environment that you now seek to quote unquote improve, as you put it in your marketing and sales narrative in the PDF from Dropbox. From your presentation and supporting documentation I've reviewed, I don't trust you. I urge the Town Planning Committee and the governing board to reject this proposal on behalf of and to protect Ancram's citizens, residents, landowners, future generations, irreplaceable wildlife, and endangered natural, rural, and agricultural environment. Thank you.
Wesley. Wesley Chase, there he is. Wesley?
Yeah.
I think he's on the, I think he was just signing in. He's on the Apple's team.
He's on, or somebody said, he signed a name here.
He probably just told you.
I think that was a sign.
He probably did.
David Boyce.
Hello, my name is David Boyce. I'm here on behalf of the Ancram Fire District. We just received our packet this week and took a look at things, and we have multiple concerns. We believe that the effects on our traffic are underestimated. We also have some concerns about the emergency access road and how that is going to be situated in its proximity to some of the buildings. We also have concerns about water supply for fire suppression at most of the locations. We want to work on that with the group. And we also want to have some input if there's going to be alarms, an alarm system in the whole place, because quite honestly, that's a very big issue to us at this time. Thank you very much for your time.
Jerry Boyce. Jerry? Jamie Jordan.
I'm just signing in, I'm not just saying.
Oh, okay.
So we also have the sign-in sheet back here.
Ah. Yeah. Yo Yakubian.
Good evening. My name's Jody Cubian. My wife, Emily Summerhoff, and I own the Farmer's Wife and live on Wiltsey Bridge Road. During the nearly 8 decades that my wife's family farmed here, and now during Emily and my own tenure as business owners, and hopefully into our children's future, Ancramdale has always striven to be a friendly small town and agrarian community. The character of this multi-party, relatively faceless LLC and their retreat project seems in direct conflict with that. It says on our town welcome signs, a farming community. The token organic farm and composting toilets does not make a meaningful contribution to that character. Indeed, its exclusiveness actually undermines that completely. From a logistical perspective, the infrastructure of the surrounding areas, Wiltsey Bridge, Simons, Four Corners, Pools Hill Road, and Roach Drive, are already burdened by the increased population. A hospitality venue with capacity for 60 plus will only worsen the traffic problems. As a homeowner on Wiltsey Bridge Road, a direct and increasingly used link from Route 82 to Route 7 and 22, I am very concerned about more cars, particularly the commercial vehicles and construction equipment required to build and maintain this retreat center, and their impact on the 10 plus children that live, bike, and play on this road, and the many walkers, bikers, and runners that make our beautiful corner of the town a destination for their activities. As business owners, Emily and I fully recognize that there may be an economic upside for our breakfast and lunch business, but for our family, the quality and personality of this community and the safety of our roads far outweighs any of those benefits. Thank you, everybody.
Terry Boyles. I guess, no, David, I guess, spoke for him. William Young. No. Rachel Van Schaik.
Good evening, board. My name is Rachel Van Schaik, and I live on State Route 82, directly across from where this retreat is growing, especially the proposed inn. Just a little concerned with the restaurant part. There is a patio that they put out. Will it be outdoor dining? You know, because right now the patio, I can see the patio for my property. There's a fire pit there. Am I gonna see people dining when they're eating? Water usage, a little concerned about with all these extra wells, if they're gonna be taking water from me. And this is kind of random, but our wedding is gonna happen on the property? Or are people gonna be like, this is so beautiful, I want to get married here, so we're gonna have to deal with that? And then specifically, where is this barn located on the property right now? I'm curious where the quarters were from staff. So there's the barn that's up right now, that's right across from my house?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paul Charlotte.
So my name is Paul Shaler. I've been living on Pools Hill Road since 1997. I've been living in Pine Plains before that since 1977. I have a home and business. And I am a neighbor to a zoning variance. Zoning variance was granted to my neighbor to start a business, to be able to be open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I'd just like to address 3 issues: noise, light, and traffic. The zoning variance was given because they thought it would be a small amount of noise and a small amount of light and a small amount of traffic. It's changed the way we live. Excuse me. The noise is constant. The lights are on 24 hours a day. The whole area is lit up all night long. It no longer feels rural. So a small decision on your part made a major difference in our home and our life, and probably decreased the value of our home dramatically. And we feel put upon by strangers driving into a driveway every weekend saying, is this the distillery? People walking into our home, I get at least 15 cars a weekend stopping into my home. And should I have to put a sign out that says, this is not the distillery? Or should they do something? This is just a small issue. I'm just one neighbor, but you made one zoning variance and it changed our living completely. So please think about what you have to do. Thank you very much.
Just to clarify, this board does not make zoning variances.
Okay.
Hollis Slater?
Everything's been answered already. I don't want to wait.
Okay. Jim LaCassa?
Jim LaCasse. Those things have been covered. Two specific things I didn't hear mentioned was if anyone's done a recent traffic study at the caution light. If you had all those trucks, like we mentioned how 82 can handle so many thousands of cars. But the extra traffic through the caution light, which is already kind of hazardous place to get through. So I was wondering if we're going to do a study of that, to see how that's going to be impacted. And something which no one's brought up, which some of the old timers probably remember, was the town dump. Used to be either on this property or bordered this property. And if you put all these extra wells in, I'm wondering if that's going to pull any pollutants this direction toward Ancram. If you remember, when you go by where the trailers were, where Lois Bogue lived for over 40 years before she was pushed out. You go up where the silos are up there, and there was a driveway to the old town dump. Anybody remember? Some people remember. I'm not sure if any of that's still there or not, but if it is, you can see that would be a concern. So that's why I bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Simone?
Most of my questions have been asked already. One always, the number of units they're gonna put in there is how it affect wells around. Number two, the number of units when we don't have a local police department. So if the people there get really rowdy and get going on, how are we gonna address that? You know, so that there's not vandalizing in the neighborhood and, you know, loud parties and things. I live on 5 Roses West. It's been very, very quiet all my life here in Ancram. And I'd like to keep the peace and quiet. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to any of the people who are on the Zoom link, are there any other questions from anyone in attendance here?
Yeah, I want to say something, John.
Oh.
Step down from my chat. That's thanks for the presentation so far. Interesting. My name is Philip Pack. I'm an Ancramdale resident. One of the things that I wanted to note is that we, over the last 4 years as a town, formed this comprehensive plan. And the stated goals of that were to keep Ancram a small, low population, historic farming community. In the opening statement of our plan, it says in 20 years, Ancram residents want the town to look and feel much as it does today, only better. The community continues to value its open spaces and farms, natural resources, and how each contributes to the quality of life and Ancram's historic and cultural heritage. We want to maintain Ancram's rural character, protect the environment, groundwater, work with farms and open spaces. So far, what I've heard tonight from the presentation doesn't seem to be in keeping with what we as a community over the past 4 years has formulated
as what we want to do going forward. And to reiterate some of this stuff about glamping, to me, glamping has always been, and you go look on Airbnb, it's a platform where you put a tent. It's not a house with a bathroom and running waters, no matter what you think. And I'll second this about the light pollution too. I live next to Camp Ann, which many of you know is lit up 24/7, 365. And it's, as far as an environmental hazard for the Dark Skies initiative, it's terrible. And when you're driving down Route 27 or on Route 7, looking at Camp Ann, it looks like an oil rig. It feels like you're in Louisiana. And I can't imagine how this project is going to look any different than that will from all these vantage points, both neighboring and as a scenic drive down 82. So I would urge the board to really consider this very, very carefully. And thank you for your time.
Anyone else from the audience?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Pontos. Just a question about your meadow proposal. I'm looking at your document on page 9. The current acreage of meadows, grasslands, and bushlands, non-agricultural is 52 acres. Acreage after project completion, 5. So that's a loss of 46.8 acreage of meadow. So that directly contradicts what has been said about preserving the natural beauty of Ancram. Sorry, I'm nervous. I didn't get up. I'm a school teacher and I talk in front of kids, not adults. So I'm a school teacher. I grew up in Ancram. I came back because I love this town. And I think I can speak for many people in this audience. We love the bucolic beauty of this place. I love that I can go out of my house and see the stars. I love that I can see the Milky Way. I love that I don't love the deer that eat my plants, but I love that there's herds of deer and herds of turkeys that walk through my property, that walk through Dennis's property. I love that I can go to the stream, to the road jam. And it's a beautiful community. And I'm not living here because I want suburbia. I'm not living in Columbia County in Ancram because I want to see Dutchess County is populated. Dutchess County has grown, there's developments. That's not Ancram. We don't buy and live in this town because it has developments. We live in this town because there's open land, there's open space. I'm worried if this development comes in, what precedent will that set for future development? Dennis's property, I live on Route 7. Dennis's property is surrounding me. It's all open. What happens 5-10 years from now when another big city developer with really poor reviews, thank you for reading them, comes in and buys that property and says, oh, we need affordable housing. Well, let's make some condos. It's going to set a bad precedent. Ancram is beautiful as it is. I have friends who are in the trades. I have friends who are school teachers. There's no housing. There's no housing. So having a development come in that's not open to the residents, that's going to create sound pollution, environmental hazards. Yes, environmental studies have been done, but these are currently wildlife corridors. If there's glamping tents and all of these structures, wildlife will be affected. The figures, you're going to go down to 5 acres of meadow. There's a lot to consider. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Nesbitt. I just had a question in Stacy's presentation. She talked about how much she loved the area and looked forward to living here and raising her children. Where on this site plan is her house?
Right near the pond. Right here. Where the other house used to stand.
That's the.
To her now. Okay, so you're gonna live on site. Okay.
Anyone else?
I'm Carl Anshake. I live right across the street from these guys. I just have a couple questions about the traffic. So if I heard you guys right, you said 19 extra cars an hour, and there's only 2,000 a day that go on the road. Is that correct?
1,100.
1,100. So if we multiply that
1,100 for the day.
for the day, and you guys
2019.
But on the peak day.
on the peak day. So you would estimate 19 extra cars per hour from just this location?
We didn't want to get.
Yeah, we can-
So, yeah.
Okay, well, my question is, so for the board, is if it's 19 extra cars an hour, that's 228 for 12 hours? I know it varies.
I can clarify something without going through the hour. It's peak hour.
Peak hours.
They're not talking about every hour of the 24-hour day. Well, I'll just clarify that, but we don't want to have a dialogue on this, just one comments.
So if that increases the traffic, could be as much as 10% or more. That's certainly a lot. That was my main question.
Thank you.
We will address that. All these topics will be addressed in a written submission, so we will make sure that these are all being addressed specifically. We can clarify those items that they're.
Phil, do you have anybody waiting to ask questions?
I do, there are two people.
Okay.
You can tell it's Deb from Water.
Okay.
And ask her, tell her she's on.
All right, Deb, you're on.
Yes, hi, it's Bill Cohen, acting for Deb Clutter. We are, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I think we are adjacent to this project. We've been living on Pat's Road for 27 years. And I just want to say how much I appreciate the comments from my neighbors, Paul Chaliff and Jan Hanvik and Mark DeGarmo especially, but all of the neighbors who have raised their thoughts about this. I really appreciate it. I have two questions that I don't think have been answered. One is, is there a way to prevent any more truck traffic from going on Pat's Road, which has become a favorite connector between 82 and the town of Ancram? There's already, as Paul Chaliff mentioned, a lot of truck traffic as a result of the distillery, and this sounds like unless we do something about it, there's going to be even more. And second, I've heard nothing about how much the principal is going to invest in, how much this whole project is going to cost, what the equity component is and who's providing it, and what the debt component of the project is and who's providing it. We need to know all about the financial implications of all of this, who's providing the debt and equity for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil, you have someone else?
Yes, I have Emil.
Hi, can I speak?
Yes, you can.
Good, okay. My name's Emily Summerhoff. You've already heard from my husband, Joe. We own the Farmer's Wife. We live on Wiltsey Bridge Road. So he's brought up a few points that obviously I agree with. I have a couple of others that I'd like to, questions actually. I'm curious what it would cost to spend a night at the retreat. I'm curious what it will cost for a plate of food at the retreat. I'm curious what the customer profile is. Wealthy urbanites, I'm guessing. And I'm wondering how this benefits a community that has an average household income of $66,000 a year. That's it, thanks.
Hey, okay, if there are no any other questions to the board. At this point, the public hearing will remain open. All of the questions and concerns that were raised tonight will be addressed. Bill, you have any comments?
I'm just saying, there's,
There will be dialogue between the applicant and our consultants based on everything we brought up. And then we'll proceed from there. I don't know at what point, we've got to get the rest of the information back on the coordinated review. So this will be an ongoing process. It's going to take a little bit of time.
all we'd ask, Mr. Chairman, is if there's a date certain for the continued hearing.
Well, you'll continue on the agenda for next month.
Okay.
For the January meeting. And that's not, you'll still be on the agenda, and the public hearing could be continued. Whether or not anything will happen that night depends on what's happening between you and our consultants at that point in time.
Thank you very much for the clarification.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us.
One more question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, one more. Okay.
This is from Kim Garrison.
Hi, Cam.
Hi, this is
Kim,
Kim.
go ahead.
I represent Grant and Lyons. I represent the planning board. I just wanted to there was a question about when the public hearing was going to be. So we will, the board will be continuing the public hearing. We might be doing it for February, but it's not a date certain at the moment. So if we'll keep it posted on the website. If we need to renotice it, we'll provide that information.
Just to be clear, just for, again,
It's staying open.
It's continued to January, but it will be renoted at the January meeting.
It doesn't need to be renoticed. It came up correct. Does not need to be renoticed. So we keep it open.
Well, is it going to be at January meeting? Is it going to be a public hearing for January?
Well, we don't know that yet. A lot depends based on our discussions. A lot depends on what happens.
Indeed, we could request an adjournment if it's not, if either we don't have consultant comments or not time to respond, then we'd ask to adjourn from that January meeting rather than having to send email notice, republish.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, as long as, if it's not, because I know that there are still some documents that are requested, and I know that the consultants have some outstanding questions, so, if it needs to be adjourned, that's fine.
Yeah, that'd be my preference. We keep it open for January, and then if we have to, we adjourn it to February.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
In that case, now I'll say thank you to everyone that joined us. Obviously, we're early in this process. We're listening to the comments. Of course, the applicant is here. This is not, by no means, this is, we really appreciate the comments. We're going to work them into the plan. And we look forward to seeing you all again soon and have a happy holiday.
Well, everyone was advised to eat. It's over for. They're also advised to email me. Grab your attention. We still have an additional portion of the meeting to go with other applicants. So if someone wants to discuss, please go outside. You're welcome to remain here for any other applications, but the dialogue has to go outside.
This farm is wrong.
Okay, ready? Okay, by your attention, please. All right, we're going to continue with the meeting. We have Mayberger Public Hearing Subdivision, Town 7.
Scott Cohen, and I'm proposing the subdivision. It has changed a slight bit since I did last month after spending a little more time on the land and trying to minimize the open space. We have discussed taking, originally had the smaller lot in the center, and we slid that to the north. So when you drive past the road, the house will be right in the middle of everything. Try to tuck it away. Also, because last time someone was concerned more about some steep slopes over here, we felt it would be a lot easier after walking a bit more to have one shared driveway that services all three lots. Therefore, not disturbing as much soil and also alleviating any like steep slopes that we're dealing with, which is over here is the steepest area. So we kind of move that away from all of that.
Excuse me.
So I feel very good about the map right now and how it stands. And we did have I thought a nice site visit a week or two ago. We walked the land. So I don't know if there's any questions.
The scope of the driveway is, you know.
I believe, and we did a 3D model of it. It seems like everything is less than 10%. This might need to be tweaked a little bit more, but everything seems to be like well within what people are looking for.
Where's the septic? Where's the septic as well?
So the septic, we had the health department actually canceled on us 2 weeks ago, and they're supposed to be out on Monday, but Mike DeLuzio is unable to make it. We're trying to get someone else in this place. We are going to do all the deep hole tests then. We are going to record it for him. He actually can't make it because he's in quarantine. And it's an engineer that will take care of that. And I have a little note from Mike saying that he will, based upon the findings, and I already explained to him, we already dug some holes, that most likely it's going to be an engineered system with some sort of fill. There is one area that we did find gravel, But he will take the findings, take a look at it when he's feeling a little better, and present the letter based upon what the engineer finds there on this coming Monday.
You know, I
So
think-
we should have a letter from the Department of Health next month. But.
Yeah, so I think at this point, what we can do is, you know, if there's other questions for the board, it's fine. But is continue the hearing until next month so we can get all of that.
We need the Board of Health.
Yeah.
And the well locations marked. Those well locations, septic location on the map.
Yeah, well, that was the next thing I was gonna bring up, was there's gonna have to be some sort of easement that's attached to the map.
I've done that quite a few times. I can easily provide that.
So the easement should, yeah, the easement should be there. Location of septic and location of wells.
You're not creating a association. We will have a road maintenance agreement, not a homeowner association. Because there is no real public spaces.
Right.
Everybody just shares the driveway.
Utilities will be on individual lot.
Yeah, we have a pole over here. We're getting probably finishing underground to several locations on the each house. I'm still waiting for you.
So it's gonna be overhead?
No, we have a pole over here.
Oh, yeah, pole, but you have to go underground from that.
From that point, it'll go underground. And we are in touch with the electric company. They are just a slower moving entity.
But you're not crossing lots with the utilities.
We probably will cross lots with utilities and we'll have an easement through that where the lots crossing.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to see that as well.
It'll probably go along the side of the road. We'll probably come over here. So along the side of the road, put a pedestal there, and a pedestal here.
So the utility easement will follow the
Follow the
driveway.
drive, yes, that's what the electric company would like.
Yeah, and then they furnish that easement.
That's fine.
They actually,
Yeah,
it's not,
As long as you can show us the utilities are following the driveway easement. And then you have to meet about the description of the driveway.
yes, we can get that on the map.
Yeah.
But the utility company actually is the one who does that. I can't tell them what to do.
No.
They pretty much dictate exactly what they want. So,
All right, well, if that's the case, then
so if I can come with a letter from the Department of Health next month and with I could probably get a road maintenance agreement sent to you guys in a week from my attorney. Is it possible to have an open hearing based upon getting those two
we'll
things
keep this
finished?
hearing open until next month.
I meant the public hearing, not the,
Was this a public hearing?
I don't think this is a public hearing.
Yeah.
This is, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Subdivision.
That's what it said.
Yeah, it's subdivision with public hearing.
Okay,
So we'll keep the hearing open until next month. You get all placed on the map and get the easement description,
okay,
and then we can move on the application next month.
okay, but I don't know if I'll be able to get the electrical easement by next month, but I can.
As long as you can
definitely help.
indicate that the electric is going to follow the driveway easement.
Well, we will do that, right? We can get that on that easily enough. Okay, is there any other comments about the map? or
Well, septic well,
Septic well location is easy enough.
and the driveway easement.
Okay, wonderful, thank you very much.
Should we do another sketch plan because it's changed?
You can. We can. Just based on the change from the last month. So we're going to sketch plan approval now based on this, keep the public hearing open.
Sketch plan.
Okay. Motion made by Dennis, second by Joe. To amend the sketch plan approval. And motion to keep the public hearing open until the next month. Motion Jimmy, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay,
Karen?
thank you. Have a good evening.
All right.
Gotta have a raise.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, raise seal now.
Comments? Final map. Comments? Comments? Or no?
Well, you can, if it,
Okay.
yeah.
That's my take. Yeah, I'm not sure what the current map shows there, but I know formerly we wanted to put a driveway on the side of that cornfield toward Copac, and that's the spring there, it runs like year round. I'm not sure if they moved the driveways away from there or not.
Yeah, they did.
And where they dug one of the perk tests up there, that's not too far from where that spring is either, one on top of the cornfield, on that edge of the field. And it's also wet.
Well, that's gonna be up to the health department to approve that.
Yeah.
So as long as they approve it.
Okay. And it's also usually wet just above that, because that's where all the water's coming through, that ends up in the spring. If he's planning on putting a house there. And the last meeting, I brought up because there's just no place where there's eastern cottontails, which were actually identified there. And I wasn't there when the conservation advisory people went through there, but there's along that whole from that Copac side of the junipers, above the cornfield. It's like exposed bedrock all through there, which used to be all full of black rat snakes and black racers. Huge, it's like 12 feet long. That was.
I think we're still waiting for the CAC. We're still waiting for the
So-
CAC comments on that.
Yeah, so if they put a house there, we got some surprises in their cellar maybe, if these things pop up out of their dens. So that whole hillside is loaded with wildlife. I mean, it's in the wintertime, it's like a deer yard, everything kind of, because it faces either east or south. So snow melts there sooner, warms up sooner. So it's wildlife corridor, it's also where a lot of the wildlife survives the winter.
Well, yeah, additionally, what will happen in this application, if in fact it's approved,
Yeah.
is that when they come in to build, they'll also be required to have a bigger site plan review, which would then be an additional. For the application.
I just wanted to, didn't want to be rushed through everybody, all the stuff being brought up.
No, they still have to come back to it.
Okay.
To us for
Yeah, the
review.
house may not be where he showed.
Yeah,
They
they may have to move the houses based on conditions.
Well, definitely would be less of an impact with just one house instead of three. I think one house, some weekender is only up there once in a while, wouldn't have as much of an impact on the wildlife as putting three houses. It's probably gonna be somebody up there all the time. So I think that'd be the maximum impact.
Well, certainly, property owners have a right to develop their property within the zoning regulations.
Yeah, I know. I just thought I'd bring this up though. It's also, it's a lot of things, same things are brought up for the previous iron store projects, the ridgeline development, the light pollution and all the other, a lot of the same issues with this project. So just like bring it up.
Those issues usually come back during the various site plan review for the individual
Okay, all
lots.
right. Just want to be on the record. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
My name is Wendy Whispering, I'm the architect. I just want to say that as of right, the property could support 10 houses with the current planning of 3 acres per house, so we're actually far below that.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Wes.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I forgot the coffee and the donuts. Fire. Fire.
Yeah.
So this is the first Landman farm. This is we're dealing with tax.
Sorry. Yeah.
We're dealing with tax map number 198 and 119, which currently exists as a 102.97 acre parcel. It's split by County Route 3. It fronts on County Route 3. It fronts on Wilsey Bridge Road. It fronts on East Ancram Road. About 20 years ago, the applicant worked with the Columbia Land Conservancy, and an easement was put on that, along with a few different building envelopes. The application tonight is for a minor 2-lot subdivision. Lot 1 of 32.49 acres fronts on East Ancram Road and County Route 3. Lot 2, there is a 8.81 acres south of County Route 3 and 61.67 north of County Route 3 and also on Wilsey Bridge Road. So the total of that whole lot 2 will be 70.48 acres. There's DEC wetlands that are shown on the map. There's NWI wetland shown on the map. Flooded hazard zone that's shown on the map. There is an existing house on the 8.81 acre lot, which is lot number 2. Lot 1, we got a town driveway conceptual permit from Mr. Miller off of East Ancram Road. Deep tests and perk tests were done on lot 1, performed and witnessed by Mike DeRuzio, and a letter was submitted and also submitted to the town. The building envelopes as seen on around the future proposed house site is as per the Columbia Land Conservancy building envelopes that were established 20 plus years ago. In that envelope, you'll see the proposed house site, the proposed well site. After meeting with a few of the board members and the CAC on site, we looked at the site, and as we had discussed last time, we wanted to find the best way to mitigate all environmental impacts and farmland protection to the best of our ability. Upon the discussions, it looked like the best scenario to be able to do that was to have the driveway come off of East Ancram Road, which we've shown, and then added fire apparatus pull-offs as per the fire prevention code of New York State. Talking with some of the members at our meeting and our meeting last month, I thought it would be a good thing to add a few different notes. One for stormwater prevention note, one for fire apparatus notes, for wetland notes, and this way, these notes, any future owner can take a look, see exactly what's going on, refer to the appropriate laws, the appropriate codes, whether it be town, state, county, and go from there. With that, I'd answer any questions or take any public comment.
The walls here, the other part of this lot, is that boundary, the walls?
Walls? Yeah, so those are the stone walls. And then it's no physical bounds kind of along top of the ridge here. So these people have a little bit to protect them from these trees. But that's about it. Yes, sir. And it comes back up.
What's this? What's this?
So this is the deed line. It's an old deed line that comes down. So this little parcel actually goes to number 8. That's the land. So the property line runs.
It goes to the property across the street?
Yes. Correct.
Not this landowner.
No. This land's connected with this. So
Right,
that
and this belongs to somebody else.
this one belongs to these people.
Jay, didn't we get a letter from the Conservancy indicating that? Yeah.
Yes, I got a copy of the letter. It was written by the stewardship person from the Columbia Land Conservancy. This letter serves as a confirmation. We've reviewed the subdivision plans for the landman properties, which are protected with conservation easements held by the CLC based on the subdivision map prepared by Wesley Chase, November 15th, 2021. The number and acreage of the new lots is permitted by and consistent with the terms of the conservation easement, and each one of these new parcels shall remain subject to the terms of the conservation easement. Thank you, Chris Young.
Yeah, I remember reading that. Any questions?
No, it looks fine. We want.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Bobby, any questions? No. Any questions from the public? Okay, if not, I want to say a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Made second, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then motion for the deck. I'm sorry? Okay. Okay, Aaron. Aaron, you there? Aaron? The hand's still up.
Yeah, I can see it right there. I just unmuted.
Yeah. Seal. Is he still there?
No, he's there, right?
All right, can you hear us? Yeah.
Yeah, he's there. It's unmuted.
He's muted. Her microphone's muted.
That's what I thought.
Aaron, you there?
We'll wait for the microphone. Yeah, it's, I think it's on our end. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Anybody have her number?
Yeah, yeah.
I have 300 something numbers in here, John, bear with me. Yeah, give it a shot, see if you can beat me to it.
No, we can't. I mean, I can hear you, but we can't hear you over there.
No.
Can you put on speaker?
on mute.
I'll put you on speaker if you want to ask a question. Would you like to? Okay. Okay, all right, bye. Okay, yeah, bye. Okay, so she just wanted to vote and she's okay, it's on her end. She'll call back if she.
All right, so.
I will say it.
We had to vote to approve, and we, to vote.
Kind of just over there, Dennis made the realization that I didn't. put
I know
my
that.
face.
Well, I'm not signing it until you get the stamped drawings.
Why do we have to go through?
Yeah. And the motion, we were in the middle of the motion for the next deck. So. Yeah. Motion. Motion. Second. May second, all in favor? Opposed, carried. All right, so you get stamped drawings, and I'll sign.
Yep, great, thank you.
Wait, did you have a motion to approve?
Yes, we did that before.
Did we?
Oh, we closed the public hearing, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
We'll get there.
Second.
Made second, all in favor? Opposed? All right, well,
Second Lampman Farm, this is the Lampman Home Farm. That fronts on East Ancram Road, Lodgett Road, Fox Hill Road. Consists of approximately 211 acres. Again, 20 plus years ago, with the Columbia Land Conservancy was put into easement. There is currently 2 homes on the farm, which consists of 1 tax map number right now, and 1 building site that was in the Columbia Land Conservancy's easement. The applications for a 3-lot minor subdivision. Lot 1, which is the vacant land, which fronts on Blodgett Road and East Ancram Road, is 127.39 acres. Lot 2, which has an existing house and barns, fronts on East Ancram Road, which is 47.10 acres. Lot 3, again, an existing house and barn on East Ancram Road and Fox Hill Road. Lot 1, the 127.39 is a vacant lot. It does have DEC wetlands, NWI wetlands. Unique habitats is mapped by Hudsonia in 2014, which Aaron has brought up a few different times. I did talk with Aaron and I consulted with Jamie as well, and we came up with a note about significant habitats and to try to make any future person aware of those habitats. We walked with a few of us, the board members and the CAC, to again figure out the best way possible to get the driveway up to the building envelope that the Columbia Land Conservancy had made, and how to do it to try to mitigate, again, the environmental impacts and protect as much farmland as possible. So going through that, where the proposed driveway is, we felt it best that it be there to keep it as far away from the wetlands to get and traverse up to the house site. Again, we put the fire apparatuses on the map to conform with the fire prevention code. We do have the deep tests in the on-site water treatment area, the proposed house site, the proposed well of that with the Columbia County Health Department letter that was granted by Mike DeRuzio again. Again, we put the notes on to try to aware any owner of what's going on and with the site. And any questions that I could answer or anything that I could point out, I'm happy to do so. One hell of a drive.
Yeah,
About a half a mile almost.
It's a long driveway. It's, and then again, we did put on about the stormwater prevention, erosion control. So that anybody that reads this note should be aware of where to find that, what those codes are, and also says that no building permit will be issued until that's dealt with the town building inspector.
There's no construction that goes with this. This is.
No.
Yeah, at this point, you know, it's just to put it on the market and actually find a buyer.
Oh, there you are. Just get worried. We've gone a long
Any
time.
questions?
No shit, that's fucking parade.
Again?
Yeah.
We can,
Yeah. I'm just listening. I'm not participating.
Muted that.
Thank you.
If that was a question I could answer.
Where's the parade?
Yeah. Oh, boy. Any questions from the public? Okay.
I would imagine the raised stamp isn't on these.
No, that's not. Yeah. All right, I'll entertain a motion, to close the public hearing.
So.
Motion made second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Motion for neg deck. Joe? Jimmy? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And motion to approve. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, same deal, buddy.
Thank you, everyone. I know you're all volunteers and nights like this are hard and long, and I see it and I appreciate it. And I commend you for a job well
Sorry, we're gonna double.
Nice doubles every year.
Okay, moving right along. Round, abbreviated site plan review.
I'm back. If I come one more time, can you give me a free cup of coffee?
No.
Stamp my card? No?
You're supposed to bring it here.
Oh. You want me to bring coffee at 9 o'clock at night? Next time I'll know. So since we last talked, we talked to Pat Pendergast. Oh, just to bring you up to speed on, I know you all deal with a lot of stuff. Last time I was here, you gave a sketch approval on the plan to expand the garage and add a screen porch. And put a guest room in the expanded garage. He said he needed to talk to an engineer or Department of Health about septic. We did. The architect put a proposed new septic location on there, but we haven't done perk tests on the new actual location yet. What I'm asking for is conditional approval to move forward pending, Ed checking everything out and the Board of Health approving the perk tests and things. We wouldn't get a C of O or anything until we had all of that completed. One of the issues is just that we've been recommended by the septic company that we do the septic install after the construction because of the way that our land is situated. So they don't want a bunch of construction equipment driving over newly installed septic stuff. So we sort of don't want to do that. I've done that before. So yeah, I'd like to ask for conditional approval because of this new additional information. And then we will make sure to close the permit properly, work with Ed to get it all checked out and squared away. And I'm sorry I don't have big drawings. I got these today. I printed them out. This is as big as my printer can do. Does anybody need another copy of this?
No.
Existing septic is working. Works great, yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, let's just add another leach field over there.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
saying
it's
there's
working now.
approval on it, but he is right, you don't want to drive construction equipment over, so you're repairing it all again.
At this point, we have no Board of Health approval on the new system.
No, no.
This is gonna be an engineered system, you're not waiting for the health department to.
We're gonna have Pat Pendergast.
Yeah, engineer.
Yeah. We engaged him.
He I noticed.
Yeah, that's,
Got his proposal, I'm trying to, why do I have this?
I was wondering the same thing.
Well, now I know how much you charge.
Yeah, I know.
So that was provided as.
I got it, yeah, I got it.
All right.
Not something usually we get in our package.
Yeah, right, especially without any background documentation.
Yeah, this must be wrong.
Yeah, I know, so why? Any questions? No, from the public, anyone?
No.
No? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion for a neg deck. Joe? Jimmy? All in favor? Opposed? Carried? And motion to approve.
Motion.
Condition.
Conditional.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Are you saying he has to come back though?
No.
Because it's conditional?
So if the location of the septic changes, then you should come back and update the site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the only reason, because we just update the site plan.
Right.
Thank you very much for your time. Very safe.
All right. Spencer.
I was here 3 years ago. And I showed you these. The same ones all over again, but nothing's changed.
What are we doing, redoing their stuff?
Yeah, it's up for renewal.
Oh,
At the venues.
So nothing's changed. Still, you can see the barn is here. If we have a wedding, we've also, in the last year, we haven't had a wedding for a while. We had a wedding, I think, 2 years ago. We're supposed to have 2 next year. We had, this year we had the Ancram Opera House gave a fundraiser concert in there. We had clarion concerts. And our neighbor, Tom Wright, passed away, so they had a nice memorial service in there. So basically, that's just, charge for that. That's in the barn. Yes. Yes. We have, I don't know, did you hear when I did it before, but basically what we have this, there's the barn, yeah, but this is a larger picture. So the barn's here and the event happens in and around it there. We have parking here, which is fairly flat, it's a little bit of a grade, and then any runoff, we've got gravel in we have an old area that was a ring, a riding ramp, so it's all gravel based. And I'll show you this too. I showed you this last time. We have when we do a wedding, we'll do a contract and to serve the most salient issues of parking. We tell them that they can park, and we have various places to accommodate them in the horse pastures, and there's about, we'll make sure that the people running the wedding have a valet to drop them off. We have here under sound, entertainers will be expected to provide their own systems for amplification. Please keep amplification and speaker systems at a moderate level as not to go beyond any local town noise abatement laws. We ask that music end by 11 p.m. and your reception be finished no later than 11:30 unless special arrangements are made with Karma Farms. And
Paul, are you aware of any complaints from any of the venues you have?
I haven't had any
events
issues.
Jay, you're not aware of anything, are you?
I'm not aware of anything.
No, I've heard none either.
The last one, how many was he allowed to have a year?
4. I thought it was 4, yeah.
And I haven't gotten anywhere near that most of the time. It's not our main thing.
If Larry Ector isn't complaining, I think we're good.
No, I let him know, hey, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right, well, it's going to require, public hearing for next month. So if everyone's good with it, I'll entertain a motion to declare lead agency.
So moved.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And motion to set the next meeting, January meeting for the public hearing. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Is there anything else that you need on that?
Thank you so much.
Anyone else need to address the board? Not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion made, second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Iron Star, I'm concerned about liability financially, that's not our.
Well, interestingly enough, I think as time goes on, we probably would have the right, the ability to ask for a business model. Which, I don't know how involved we can get with it, but at least if they would give us some sort of business model to see how this is. So I do think at some point, I'm not sure, we have to ask council, but I think we have the right to ask for this model.